Now I know this is the part that everybody waited for. This is the fun part of counseling. This is why we all got in the profession, so we could do our reports and record keeping. But boy, how important is this? How many of you have ever picked up a file where nothing was charted about the client and you were expected to magic? What? You know? Tell me about an experience you've had where a client's been put on your caseload and you've gone and picked up the file and there was nothing in there. How did that affect your ability to provide service to that person? It's almost like starting all over, right? And then the client's like, I've been here 6 months. my name's John, not Jack. You know, and it's that feeling of, not being really good at what we do, too. I mean, even if we're very mindful of the care we might provide, it really makes our agency look bad, too. But also, with having to do with people that might have got dropped from a program, and the court's calling up, saying, we're getting ready to put so-and-so in jail because we haven't received this paperwork from you. Or an erroneous drop because the person was dropped for information that was not accurate. I mean, when that happens, I just hate seeing people have to go through that when they don't need to. Keeping up with the agency's requirements and understanding what are the requirements for my reporting, what are the requirements for my record keeping, who starts the file, who breaks down the file, what forms are required to be in the file, when are they required to be filled out, are there monthly reports that need to be sent in on individuals, like with, you said you work on a behavioral health court setting, so you may have to do weekly reports for the judge or something like that. I mean, you know how judges act when they don't get the reports? So reports and record keeping are becoming, even more and more important in this day and age in our profession as we move more towards electronic health records and our reporting entities requiring us to have electronic records. And then there's this wonderful thing called CalOMS that we had dropped in our lap, and it took the place of CADS. And CADS was an interesting process, and I certainly think CalOMS does a better job of collecting information, but to go from a dozen questions to, I think it's 80-some questions is just, it's difficult. And so making sure that we have making the time, there's a challenge for counselors to provide, to do the appropriate report and record keeping needed, because the employer wants you to provide the service, because that's where the remuneration comes in and being able to bill for that service. But if you don't take the time to provide the report and record keeping, it ends up hurting you in the long run. So understanding the appropriate preparation of reports and relevant records, integrating available information to facilitate a continuum of care. So when you open up a record, although after a discharge is done, you should be able to really assimilate what that person's condition was when they came into treatment. I know in a lot of treatment organizations they even require pictures, a copy of a person's ID and a picture at the time of intake. They don't necessarily do it at discharge. but probably should, so you can get a snapshot of what the person looked like when they showed up and what the person looked like when they left, you know, kind of like what they do in some criminal justice settings, you know. But you can get a snapshot of what the person's episode was, because hopefully you're one of those organizations that it only takes one time. But the likelihood is that at some point, that person is going to be back in your treatment program. Or another treatment program. Of course, they won't have access to the wonderful information that you'll have on the individual. But in the event that they come back into your program, you will be able to ascertain really where they were, where they left off, where their problems were, and you'll be able to provide them a different level of quality of care because of all that information you now have on them. So, consultation. This is the thing we do we do it every day, and I don't know whether or not we are mindful of the importance of it, but relating with in-house staff or outside professionals to assure comprehensive quality of care for our client. Being able to discuss with clinical supervisors, being able to discuss with other staff clinical information about what you're doing with clients, the decision-making processes you're making are extremely important. The moment we begin believing that we know and only we know what's best for our client, we're setting our client up for failure. So global criteria for this function. Recognizing issues that are beyond the counselor's base of knowledge and or skill. So where is this generally done? Consultation.
We do it at staffing. No.
Staffing.
Increases.
Right. But you do daily, I mean, some agencies do daily staffing, some agencies do weekly staffing, you know.
Somewhere in the court.
Huh?
Somewhere in the courthouse.
Somewhere in the court, if you have a court team meeting, if it's like a drug court setting or mental health court or behavioral health court. So wherever staffings take place, did you say phone? Mm-hmm. Yeah, phone's another good place too. So that's where you're really able to discuss about these individual cases. And when a client, like we said earlier, 9 out of 10 clients are going to just pretty much sail through treatment. There might be a little bit up and down and stuff like that. And there's that 1 out of 10 clients that really you will really earn your pay with. And those are the ones that you really need to be discussing. But don't forget to check in on the ones that have the appearance of everything's going really smooth, because that might be part of their pathology and why it took them 20 years to get to the door. You know, are you checking in with them about what's happening at their home? Are you checking in with them about what's going on in their job? And, you know, if they keep saying that everything's well and wonderful, you might want to ask them, what are you doing here? Well, I'm in treatment. Well, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of treatment happening here. Yes. Well, definitely interesting points and important points. And you know, and you go and you look at what's required of a drug and alcohol counselor in training, and we look at the ethics courses and the confidentiality stuff, and you know, and those trainings are pretty, I don't know, they're kind of boring, you know. But boy, when you need that information, it can really impact a client's perception of the quality of care they're receiving from you. If something like that happens and you don't handle it appropriately, you can literally lose all of that work that you did with them just by mishandling that one particular incident. So by not reaching out appropriately, getting an appropriate consultation could really hamper the client's ability to be successful and your ability as a counselor too. Because there may be some liability issues around confidentiality issues and other legal issues that you could get drawn into. And if you don't know what your boundaries are, or you haven't consulted with the appropriate professionals, it could end up costing your credential and your job. So important stuff. Another piece I want to add about consultation is that, so as part of the consultation report and record keeping, we're going to be doing some discharge planning. And after we do that discharge planning, we have now completed a whole treatment episode with our clients. Okay, so from early this morning, when we didn't know the individual, we did screening and intake, we orientated them, we did some assessment and treatment planning with them. We did some counseling, client education. We had them have some moments that needed some crisis intervention. We did some referral and report and record keeping and understood and explained to them the rationale for that. And we consulted with other treatment professionals about the care we were providing them to make sure we were on the right track. And we provided a whole treatment episode for that individual now, and we've used the global criteria to do that.